Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Kaiju number 8, season 1, episode 4. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So immediately picking up in the aftermath of last episode, our boy Kefka is not just going to stay down, gets up, even though he's on a broken leg, some organ damage, some fractures, but now I'm still doing it. I got this. He's like, I'm going to stay behind, but you, Ichikawa, you go forward. We made that whole deal like you wouldn't hold up and wait for me, but Ichikawa was like, no, I got your back, you know? Like, we're kind of going forward together. And it's like, yeah, man, this is the same Ichikawa that has your back in episode 1. It's like, yeah, that's just the type of guy you are. So let's do this together. And their plan was a team combination of Ichikawa carrying him, considering like, well, you do have the power suit that works and everything, and basically Kafka has to ride on top of him, and you have Hoshina, which I think I kept pronouncing Hoshida. I kept saying Hoshida instead of Hoshina. But he's just still being a dick, laughing at them, talking about how embarrassing it is. Which, hell, even Ichikawa is like, this is pretty embarrassing. Everyone's looking at us. But it's like, you're kind of like, oh, man, they're going to do their thing. They're like, right, let's support people. I'm going to use my knowledge and tactics. You be kind of my legs in this moment. It's kind of this powerful, beautiful friendship moment. It's like, yeah, we're going to do something. We might not be in here John Wicking it up, but we'll support everybody. And all of that is immediately a mooted point because with style and crazy finesse, Kikoru comes in and wipes the floor with all the kaijus, even the last one. Very stylish, mouth open, going for the last shot, even licking her lips. Felt a little like, obviously with the exception of the licking the lips, that felt like a jackpot, Devil May Cry type of moment. She's in her stylish DMC bag. And she came out on top, and we kind of find out like she's doing this for her dad, which, what was it, Hoshina said, like, I think he referred to her dad as like director Shinomiya, which I'm like, for her to refer to as a director, it's like, oh, because you'd expect no less from his daughter. I wonder, is he the director of the entire like defense force or something like that? We don't know what position he's in, but refer to him as a director like that must mean like he's got to be head honcho in their organization. Either he's the head of it or one of its leaders, but I'd assume the head. Which kind of makes you wonder, because we got that flashback when she was young and her dad was never really attentive. Being perfect is her way to get her father's attention. It's just, I want my dad's love. Like, oh, all these, like, I got the top score in school, but everyone else's parents here are to greet them. The only person that came to greet her was her butler. And even he's kind of got that grimace look on his face when her father's very dismissive of, you got the top score, who cares? You have to do it, like, focus on the next goal. Like, getting top score once isn't enough. You've got to be perfect on the battlefield, because you can't lose to anyone else. Don't let anyone be better than you or stronger than you. So that's where that competitive nature comes into place, why she feels the need to try and outshine everyone, because she's trying to prove herself to not only herself, but more so prove herself to her dad, that I'm worthy of your attention and love. He's also saying, like, you got to do it for your mom, which makes me feel like, her motivation to kill all kaiju must mean her mom must have been killed by one. And so that's probably extra motivation and pressure put on her. I'd assume with the conversation, like, because her looking up at the sky initially made me go like, oh, is her dad dead? Which could be. He might be dead or something like that. So she probably has, if he's dead, it adds even more pressure that I've got to be perfect. But there's still the added pressure if he's still alive. You're still like out there, like, he's not going to focus on you until you prove yourself. So, and even when you prove yourself, well, you're still not good enough, because you could be better and better. You need to be perfect. I'm sure like he's the type of parent that would point out like, well, you did this, and this during this exam, but you could have done this better, even though like, I wonder, did he used to be a Defense Force member and he eventually rose to the rank to kind of become a top-notch person? So maybe he was like hot shit back in the day, and that's where he can get off kind of judging her. But it's like, your poor skills would be a terrible reflection upon me and my lineage and legacy. I don't know. I'm putting a lot of, ifs about a situation we've only like tipped the scales in knowing about. But either way, turns out things aren't over because all of the kaiju not only get regenerated, they come back a little stronger, especially the last one that uh, Kikoru ended up killing. But there's a kaiju that pops up beside it and like is responsible for it, and it's talking to her. She's like, wait, a kaiju talking? Hell, she almost died because like it shot an attack, and she's like, if I hadn't focused around the powers of this suit around my heart, it would have killed me in that moment. But even it's kind of like, oh yeah, what's up with that skin? Kind of being able to kind of detect like, oh, it's healing itself. It's like, man, there's something off there. Shoots her a couple times and then bounces and leaves like the rest of the kaiju to kind of sweep up. So with everything popping off the way it is, this new revived particular final boss is now like what is like a 6.3 or 6.4 or something like that. So even Hoshina's like, it's only something him or someone of his caliber or Mina's caliber that could deal with this thing. So they rush off to deal with it. Obviously, they're evacuating all the trainees, but obviously, her need to prove herself, Kikoru is like, no, I'm going to see this through, even if I'm beaten down, even if it's just one arm, which she's literally down to one arm because luckily it's not ripped off, but it is severely effing broken. Because I'm sure there's only so much those suits can do to keep your body going before it gives out. And so she kept pushing and pushing, but it wasn't enough. And luckily, Kafka showed up in his kaiju form, but then he immediately starts pleading, please don't tell anybody about this. Please, please, I'll explain things a little bit later on. Just don't say anything. He's also lucky none of the cameras ended up, like they were recording some data-wise and being able to kind of catch readings, but they weren't able to catch like video footage of this. But yeah, Kefka does that, his best One Punch Man impression yet again. It's actually, I love how awesome it looks because you can tell like the form mutates even more than it did last episode, and when those fists collide, which I'm like, oh, I'm a sucker for that. I was referencing Mob Psycho last episode. It reminds me of like the big battle between Mob and a certain someone. No spoilers. I could go ahead and say like the big boss of Claw. Like them clashing fists and then like Mob's jacket and shirt kind of ripping from like the pressure rippling through his arm. It kind of reminded me of that, but I just love how like stylized it was when like it almost looked like his arm was mutating more from the punch. Like it felt like he was kind of getting backlash from the punch. Because we don't really know what the healing factor is like for this particular kaiju. Because it doesn't seem like kaijus generally have a healing factor except these ones did, but I think it's just in special circumstances. And like how it looked too, like that thing's like its skin disappeared, all you saw was like its skeleton, and then it like explodes like that. Another reference I'm about to make, it reminds me of Invincible season 3 episode 2. Like some of the time he was fighting those Reaniman, there was points where he punched them and literally exploded their body and there was nothing but legs left. It was exactly that because he exploded the body, viscera raining down, and then just its two legs standing up that fall. And it's pretty impressive. And he's just checking on Kikoru, being like, are you okay? Like, he's like, hey, you need to be careful going forward. Like, don't kind of just rush off on your own like that. But then Ichikawa catches up with him. It's like, you idiot, you transformed. I was thinking to myself, there's no way you would do it. But it's like, no, you are who you are. You're going to jump in without hesitation. He's like, yeah, I meant to only transform part of my body, but I guess got caught up in the moment. Once again, he doesn't know how to fully control it. I guess transforming that little bit of his body at the beginning of last episode was a complete and utter fluke. So still got much training ahead. So luckily, they got out of there. Kikoru ended up passing out and they ended up turning up. Luckily, no trainees got hurt, killed. Like, obviously, there were wounded people, but also, like, the guy who got first place in the first section of the second stage, that's a mouthful, he's the one that kind of leads the charge on, like, evacuating people. It's pretty impressive. Because he was actually part of, like, a Japanese self-defense force, but then transferred over to like this more offensive defense force. They were kind of commenting on that last episode. But by the time Hoshina and Mina show up, everything's already done. The operator, she did say like there was a spike of Fortitude Fortitude of 9.8, which Hoshina is like, there's no way that's possible, because if that was real, that would mean this would make this person the most powerful kaiju we've ever come across. So, and Hoshino kind of notices, he's like, this amount of damage or whatever, like, Kikoro is good, but she's not good enough to handle this. So he's the one piecing it together. Like, it's kind of like that kaiju incident from 3 months ago. Well, is there a parallel? It's like, we still just don't know enough, because he's like, this and a whole bunch of kaiju recovering and getting stronger. There's a lot we don't know, because they probably thought like so far ahead of like, well, we've come to know like how things operate, and then all of a sudden the world is getting flipped upside down of like that not necessarily complacency, but thinking you've got it all figured out, that you got it down to a system. Something's come in. There's been these X factors that thrown curveballs your way. Speaking of Kikuru, Hoshina comes to her and it's like, yo, so you're the one that defeated that kaiju? And she's hesitant for a second because she knows it was Kafka. But she, for one, she can't say anything because she doesn't want to admit not being able to do that, because it would also be admitting someone had to save her, and that makes her feel weak and pathetic. Which again, Kafka felt that same way before. He knows what it's like to feel useless. But in his mind, it's like, yo, she's capable. I mean, he's like, yo, we were all in a tough position. Yeah, it sucks that she stole all the glory, but it's like we all came out of this situation unharmed if it wasn't for her. She's the one that kicked butt and everything. So he's appreciative, even if it's like, you're kind of my rival and stuff. I want to prove you wrong. I want to shut you up. But I can still acknowledge, yo, you are pretty damn good. But it's her pride that won't let her answer that, be honest about it. But also, she also knows Kafka can never he would never like correct her and be like, no, it was me, because he would have to out himself. But once again, Hoshina knows that she's not capable of doing that, so he knows she's lying. So he'll probably assume she's trying to cover up for whatever's happening. But it's like, I mean, which it could be a part of what she's doing, but I you know, maybe that speaks volumes about me. I'd assume from the beginning that was her being selfish, but maybe it was her just being like, if I answer that I didn't, you're going to ask a whole bunch of other questions. So if I'm just like, no, I did it, you won't ask anything about Kafka, and I kind of owe it for him saving me. So maybe it is her being appreciative. Like I said, I kind of took the pessimistic route and was like, oh, she wanted to take credit for it just to take credit for it. But that could have also been her attempt to like, no, I don't want, like, I owe it to Kafka, so I don't want to like draw, like, even admitting like what happened. She could even be like, oh, I passed out and stuff like that. But it could also be, it could also be down the road. It could be a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B in this regard, that I am trying to help protect Kafka without outing him, but I'm also going to benefit heavily from this situation. So we did have Mina show up, and she went to go see Kafka and Ichikawa, because Ichikawa's the one that carried her back. But it's hard to say who she was really looking at, because she came to check on him because she overheard everything he said of like, yo, like, I do owe you, Ichikawa, because like he's like talking about, it's been a while, so it was a stark reminder again of being surrounded by so many people who are, you have a dream, but so many people are so much better at it than you. But it motivates him even more to be like, it's actually pretty dope. And he's like, I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for you, Ichikawa, like cheer me on and be my support to this. And Mina overheard that, so I think she was mainly talking to Ichikawa, but you know, she's still kind of avoiding talking to Kafka, and Kafka wanted to talk to her, but he stops himself. He's like, no, I'll talk to her when we're standing on even ground, when I'm an officer. So then like I can talk to her. I want to prove myself first and foremost. And then finally we have a stinger at the end of the episode where we find out not only is this kaiju that can talk is a kaiju, it's not a human, it's not a situation like Kafka. It seems like it's the opposite in some capacities. I'm assuming the body it's in was a regular human. Like what happened to Kafka happened to this person too, but for whatever reason, Kafka was able to keep his sense of self, versus this person was completely eroded by the kaiju. I can only assume that's how that operates. So the question is like, was it the exact same type of creature that injected itself into Kafka and got into this as well? Or is it a situation of it was a completely different kaiju? Are they trying to serve the same purposes? Because this kaiju was like, wait, there were zero deaths. He's like, no, there's no way. He's like, was one of those captains a lot stronger than I thought? Which they are. They would have been able to handle that. But the problem, like, once again, Mina or Hoshina, but they didn't get there in time. But yeah, also, interestingly enough, this kaiju is part of the kaiju disposal body. It's a new hire, I guess, subsequently in that maybe 10-day time frame. Well, not unless he was already there, like some point in that. Well, would they still call him a new guy if he's been here for like 3 months? So he had to be like within that past 10 days, between the 3 month time skip last episode before in episode 2 to the 10-day period, that time skip to the beginning of the second test. It's just interesting that you would also take a job which is the exact place that Kafka worked and his circumstances being similar to your constitution, just a little different. It's fascinating. I don't know if that was on purpose or not. Once again, the kaiju that went inside of Kafka was looking for him specifically, so I'm curious. I wonder if we're going to have a situation where that thing has beef with other kaijus, and so it needed a suitable host, and that's why it was looking for Kafka. Once again, maybe he's a special case. Once again, a lot of spaghetti being thrown at the wall from my theory crafting and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us going forward. They still don't have the full test results, so I'm sure that's going to come rolling in next episode. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.